I guess I've been hearing two kind of different sides of the picture that I guess make sense that are in tension, and I'm wondering if you can speak to how you would integrate them. One would be the kind of decentralization through user-generated media and just kind of blogs and that kind of thing,
yeah.
Versus what you mentioned several times about the holistic message you'd like to impart.
Right.
And so how do you envision dealing with the massive decentralization project and really putting it in citizens' hands with that?
It's a great question. It's not easy to implement by any means, and this is certainly a challenge, but I think it's a challenge that we have to embrace. And I'll resist the temptation to quote Theodore Herzl in terms of what he said about certain challenges, because this pales in comparison. It's not a big thing in comparison to things that we've dealt with before. The best way is really to think of analogies, and that's why I use, in this case, mixed ownership. I think that it would be a mistake to completely continue to cede it to the public sector in this cottage hasbara industry, working together or sometimes against each other. It would also be a mistake to totally believe in hafrata, privatization. I think as we both decentralize and find people with the big picture, that we first need someone or a group of people that are in charge and have the budget and have the authority to be in charge. And that's why I talk about this term Chief Marketing Officer, CMO, a real executive, one of the top executives in a corporate structure that has the wherewithal to make the tough decisions to start to implement. By definition, a CMO has a big picture kind of context that they're dealing with. And I think part of the problem is when you're out in the foreign ministry, you don't really want to, you want to talk about the economy because it's good news, but you're not proficient enough or you're not allowed to talk about it because that's another ministry, or et cetera, et cetera. And sometimes there are conflicts, right? Because if we're promoting tourism, but we're also talking about the threat from Lebanon, that's a pretty big conflict. But I think we need more people that are decathletes in terms of their communications, if I can use another analogy, as opposed to just marathon runners, and all they do is run the slow distance.
We're unfortunately going to have to wrap up. Let's take, there were, I think, 2 hands up. Let's just get those questions from Marco, and then I'm going to ask you to talk about one last thing before we finish. But Jason, what's your question?
I'm Jason Lustig. I'm CTO from Haven.
CTO from
Haven.
Great.
And
brains behind the code.
I really like a lot of the things you were talking about this morning. One of the things which I found most interesting was sort of your idea of like roving ambassadors, because I mean I'm a college student, I'm a senior apprentice, and I see I'm not so involved in the Hasbara scene, but I am very active in sort of preaching against it, in the sense that I think that it does a lot more harm than it does good in a lot of ways, especially for the Jewish community.
Right.
And
so maybe I can hang. I'm moving to Cambridge in 2 weeks in Massachusetts. So maybe you and I, when we both have death threats against us, we can hang out together. Hire the same security guard just for efficiency reasons.
Right. So one of the things I liked about your idea about roving ambassadors is sort of a way to sort of like bring everybody in and co-opt their activities as in Hasbara, sort of to make a unified message, at the same time give them the authority that they need. But like at the same time, like, do you think that in a way justifies life in the diaspora, in the sense that a lot of people will say, well, you know, like I love Israel, but I'm not going to call because I can do more for Israel by defending it in the U.S. than I can by moving to Israel and doing whatever I happen to do there. And so, do you think that would then hurt Israel in a very real sense by not having the people who Israel really needs, like by justifying the existence in the diaspora?
It's
and real quick, add on to that the notion of like a globalized Jewish people.
Yeah.
Kind of buzzword that's flowing around when you explain that. Wait, I want to get Matt's question out, because then we're going to have to end it.
Wait, I don't have the bandwidth.
Fine, so we got Jason
to deal with 2 questions at one time. I cannot talk and shut down at the same time.
Go for it.
It's a little bit daunting for me, who is like goy dovrei ivrit, to start engaging in theological discussions. But if I do remember a little bit from taking some theology classes at Hebrew University, that for us, it's less about place than it is about time and our collective experience and observance and how we define it in mitzvot v'cholei. I think the world is big enough, and I think the world is virtual enough that it's really about our passion and our ideas, and less about whether you were blogging from Waltham, Mass, or if you were blogging from Jerusalem. I think the physical point of presence is always crucial. That includes us in this place right now. There's nothing like Jerusalem, and Jerusalem will always, if Israel is the center of the Jewish world, then this is the center of the center. This is the epicenter. Happens to be the most beautiful area, one of the most beautiful areas, I think, in the world here in Mojave, and I have very good memories from here. But, so that bothers me less in terms of this argument about, where do you live? Do you know some of the biggest Zionists I know right now, who I know one day will return here, are living in mamash the peripheria, in the periphery of the world. I have a good friend right now, his name is Dr. Ziv Miansky, top urologist, surgeon, who's at Tel Shomer, getting paid what people get paid to clean streets, went to Australia to make some money, and then he's going to move back here. What an amazing example of a roving ambassador, someone like the Sayeret Tzamchanim, speaks beautifully, 3 kids, handsome, etc. So that's what I'm trying to get. I'm glad the roving appealed to you. What I think we need to do is empower these people so that once you've come here, once you've lived here, once you have citizenship, and you're a great model of what could be, why not have that title to help the, quote, bureaucrats get across the message? I use roving for another reason. It was sort of like Yahoo had roving video news people, this guy Skypes, who's, I don't know.
The hot zone.
Yeah, exactly, the hot zone. And I think that was part of the imagery that I'd like to develop. Again, what I presented is just very nascent. If any of these ideas appeal to you, or you want to do a sort of a group exercise, I'd love to take it on, because I do think that is one tactic that could have some advantage. So the best people are in front of the camera. We're not just relegating it to someone who was sent here. We can work together to make it stronger.
Matt,